Hello everybody, welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing a brand new review, and today I'm going to be reviewing Sinners, which is now out here in the UK. It's out in the rest of the world, and I cannot wait to talk about this one. Of course, it is the newest Ryan Coogler film featuring Michael B. Jordan, and I've seen this in IMAX. I'm saying this straight away. My voice also might sound a bit weird. I've woke up feeling a bit off today, but I've got a really busy few days ahead, so I'm not going to be able to get a review elsewhere, so I'm hoping this doesn't take me over the limit. I've got a lot of things planned. It's WrestleMania weekend, it's Star Wars Celebration weekend, there are so many things on the table. I really can't afford to get ill, so let's hope this isn't the case and this review doesn't contribute. But that being said, this film is now out worldwide. I'm not doing spoilers, but I do want to hear from people watching at home, so please do comment your thoughts on Sinners. If you've seen it, if you're looking forward to seeing it, what your thoughts are, the formats you've seen it on. I'm also really curious about that. This is quite a special film, if I'm honest, and I didn't think I'd be saying that in my review, so I'm really excited to talk about this one. If you're a fan of this channel, if you're a fan about film, we're slowly heading into summer blockbuster season. Things are going to get really busy. We've got Last of Us coming weekly, we've got WrestleMania videos, we've got Andor starting this week, new releases, you name it, we're covering it. So we're heading into one of the busiest periods of the next couple of months on the channel, alongside hitting our 10-year anniversary. So if you want to find out videos, get us on social medias, link in the description below, push through to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd and Blue Sky. But that being said, let's really get this going. And I'm going to give my thoughts heading into this film, because I didn't actually see a single trailer for this film. I was very lucky to be hidden away from marketing. I seem to have got better about that. Now I use social media a lot less. It's easier to hide from certain things. And I just knew it was a new Ryan Coogler film. I knew that Michael B. Jordan was playing twins in it. I did not know anything else. And a bit that there was vampires, but the context of vampires was very low. So I'd heard about all of this, and I'm sold. It's a Ryan Coogler film. I think he's an unbelievably talented director, and I am very much there for when he does his new releases. He's done some incredible films already: Fruitvale Station, Black Panther, Creed, Black Panther 2, and now we've got Sinners to add into that. He's having an unbelievable career already. The people he's been working with have been incredible. Michael B. Jordan is very much the star of that. Ludwig Göransson on the soundtrack has worked with him his whole career too, who has blossomed into one of the best composers, one of my favourite composers working today. So I am sold on this film. And as we got into this week, I didn't get to go to the press screening. I'll be honest, Arsenal are playing Real Madrid. I was always picking the Arsenal game, so I'm going to miss the Thunderbolt screening as well, because of the next round of the Champions League. So I knew I'm going to watch this on release day, and I actually booked to do a double bill with Warfare because I missed the press screening for that. And long story short, I cancelled the double bill, and I went last night just to watch this in the IMAX instead, because I did not know until recently that this film was shot on 70mm IMAX. Now, there is only one cinema in Europe, I believe, showing this in this format, which is the BFI IMAX. The reason I know this is because I've been refreshing the BFI IMAX website every day, looking for screen times for Revenge of the Sith, because its 20th anniversary releases next week, and it only came up with Sinners. And then I'd seen on their social medias that it was shot on 70mm IMAX. I was tempted to go down to London. I'm going to London today anyway. I was tempted to go earlier and watch this at the BFI, but I went against it just because I didn't know the context of the film, and now I feel bad. But I still made sure I watched it in the IMAX format correctly yesterday. And I've got to say, before I've even spoke about the story, the cast, anything, this is an IMAX film. This is what Christopher Nolan wants us to be doing with going to the cinema to watch these types of films. And the reason I bring Nolan up, he has a special thanks credit. This is shot with those IMAX cameras on the IMAX format. This isn't we've shot this with a bog standard digital camera, let's enhance the aspect ratio. This is been shot this way on purpose. It looked incredible. You can tell when films are shot on film, there is something about them that makes it look so much richer on that format. Just the structure, the square imagery, the use of IMAX itself. We even got a glorious aspect ratio change, which doesn't happen that often. You know, we all think of the Hunger Games, but this had one of those really, really cool ones. And the sequences shot, whether it be musical sequences, whether it be action sequences or establishing shots, they use the IMAX camera so well. And it's great to get a film that uses IMAX properly, again, rather than just not having a cropped aspect ratio. So there's got to be credit there, and that's got to be one of the biggest selling points of this film for me, is making the effort to go to IMAX to see this. As I said, there's very few places showing at 70mm IMAX, but your normal IMAXs will still show this in a very good IMAX format. So have a look into that if you haven't seen already. If you want to go again and you didn't see it in IMAX, make that effort to go to IMAX. It will make the difference. And now it's time for me to get into the film, because I love this film. Vampires is an easy sell for me. I like genres when people do different things with them. I don't need everything to be the same. I don't need everything to be formulaic. This was an original film. We all sit there moaning, crying, saying, why doesn't Hollywood make enough original films? How much of a hypocrite would we be if we didn't go to the cinema to watch an original Hollywood film done by a great director, with a great star, with up-and-coming stars in this too, with an unbelievable composer, again, using that format. It is ticking all the boxes to make the effort to go. And I'm so glad I did. It was phenomenal. I'm not going to give too much away with regard to the story. As I said, I kept away from the trailers, so a lot of it was a surprise to me. But I'm very much okay to say that it is a film set over the duration of one night, which is about a vampire attack on a group of people at a party. That's as low-key and as simplistic I'm going to make the story. It is worth watching it for this. There is an incredible ensemble cast. I'm just going to list a couple of the names I've got here. Michael B. Jordan playing the twins, which I've already mentioned. Haley Steinfeld's in this. We've got Miles Caton, who's in his debut film role. I'll be talking about him in a lot more detail. You've got Jack O'Connell, Wunmi Mizaku, Omar Benson Miller, Delroy Lindo, Jamie Lawson. So many great names appeared in this. And whether it's a smaller role or a bigger role, the ensemble was perfectly nailed. And I know the SGs don't work that way, but I wish there was more recognition to great ensemble films. And Ryan Coogler is a director who people do want to go to. He's someone that an actor would want to work under, and why absolutely wouldn't you? He's got a great track record, so it's amazing to see this. But if I really kickstart talking about Michael B. Jordan playing the role of the twins, obviously everyone always goes back to the Craze or the Winklevoss Bros in Social Network when they look at these performances where one actor is playing twins. This is probably one of the more intense performances where we have fight sequences of one another, we've got different costumes for them. Obviously, they've got the same hair and makeup as such, but they're two completely different personas. And I loved what they did with this. I'm really curious to see more about behind the scenes, because I think every film that does twins does it differently. Of course, there'll be doubles being used. There might be some CG techniques being used, but it looked so good on the camera. And knowing it was shot on 70mm film makes it a little bit different to how they could have done that. It doesn't have that very typical digital effect that you would expect it to have. So I'm curious about the process for the twins. But I really enjoyed it. And this is a film that is set in the, I don't know if you to call it the Jim Crow era, but it's set in the early 1930s America. So we know what that country is about. I'm not going to say too much about that side of the story, because there's something I didn't know that happened that was amazing, a secondary subplot heading into an incredible climax. If you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm just going to say Red Dead Redemption vibes. I didn't know any of this was part of the story. So it was really interesting that Ryan Coogler is once again going to be talking about the racial divide within America, how people were treated in the laws of segregation, what happened in the 1930s. It was a great story to have there. And at times, the vampires, because you're thinking of vampires, you are not thinking of the other issues at the time, which I think lends itself to this film and other racial issues do come into it. It's a really well-conceived story idea, and I cannot fault the writing. I'm seeing conversation, people having this as their best film of the year so far, and I totally understand that. It's in my top 3 at the moment. Ironically, the other vampire film, Nosferatu, I've got just above it, and the other's a music documentary. I don't know if that's allowed to count, but I adored what they did with this. It had an exceptional story with a powerful ensemble cast on top of a competent director, and competence understatement if I'm being honest, but it's very much the perfect coming together. And when we're looking at this director's career, I think Sinners is going to be one of those films where, you know, the question goes to be like, what did he do after Black Panther? And we know how difficult it would have been with the passing of Chadwick Boseman doing that second Black Panther film. I know Ryan Coogler spoke out about how difficult that process was. So for his film after to be this already within a couple of years, I think it's remarkable. I think it's such a great story for him, and I absolutely loved it. I know there was a bidding war with Warner Brothers and other studios to try and get the rights to this. I'm recording this on Saturday morning. I don't know what it's looking like box office. I know some people don't like box office, but I really hope audiences go to see this. It is worth watching at the cinema. You do get the cinematic experience. It's probably one of the best films showing at the moment. Certainly better than Minecraft, although it's a very different audience. But I need to talk about a couple of other people that are involved. So Miles Caton in his debut film, playing the role of Sammy. An unbelievable debut. I didn't know this was his first feature. I saw in the credits there was like an introductory credit for him, and I was really surprised at that. And then to see he's essentially, I know Michael B. Jordan is the lead as such, but Sammy is really the protagonist and who the story starts and ends with. absolutely loved him in this, and there's a bright career ahead for him off the back of this film. There is no denying that already. It was really, really good stuff in there. And I really want to also talk about Delroy Lindo, who I know Five Bloods people will call it a comeback film for him as such, but he's so funny in this as well. He's got a great story, and when he needs the dramatic side of things as well as the comedic side, he delivers on both fronts. I think he almost stole the film for me. As I said earlier, it's an exceptional ensemble cast performance, and it's very much worth seeing at the cinema for those guys. I've spoke about the IMAX. I want to talk about the vampire stuff. And I want to talk about as little as I can, because I don't want to say this is your typical vampire film. There are certainly sequences which are traditional for vampires, things you'll recognise, things that are ideas. But this film is almost split in two, where the first half of the film is a drama about these twins coming back to where they grew up to throw this big party as a big homecoming. And then the vampires just happen to turn up that night, if I'm allowed to say that. I'm not going to delve into that too much further, but there's a great sequence of Jack O'Connell on the field. Many of you will know that sequence if you've seen it. And I just thought how they chose to approach vampires in this through the power of music was really interesting. It's something I've not personally seen before. I don't know if other filmmakers have done this as well, but again, it lended itself to that originality that I wasn't watching a bog standard vampire film. Yet when it wants to go for those action sequences, when it wants to have the silver or the garlic or the steaks, it does all that and more. But it really delivers on something unique and different that lends itself going back into that story of the racial segregation. So it's a really interesting front on all of that. And the overall impact of this film is, I'm one day after watching it, I think this is going to have a very lasting impact. Its soundtrack is unbelievable. Ludwig Göransson, I don't care that it's April. We might be talking about another Oscar for him next year. The music he wrote for this, he performed for this, is incredible. Original songs, not just the score, as an actual music that characters are singing. I thought it was amazing. And that main sequence, you will know what I mean, in the barn with the music and the stomping, that's the sort of thing you want on the Oscar reel. So I'm proper waving the flag for this one to get Oscar discussions going for next year. Best score is always one of my favourite Oscars of the night. I love seeing how that category goes every year, and I really think we've got another strong one in comparison for him, and I cannot wait to see what he does on Odyssey next, because it's not the only Nolan comparison. This, as I said, Nolan does get a special thanks credit. I don't know if Ryan Coogler shot on 70mm IMAX before. I know how rare those cameras are. There's only X amount of them in the world for any use. I know that obviously Odyssey's shooting at the moment, but if this is another director who's looking to use these newer technologies and do new things with the camera work, then I'm all for it. I think cinema needs that. When we talk about the battle for the cinematic experience, all these other things against streaming services, this is what people will go to the cinema to see. You've got to make them want to go. Sinners has done that. I'd like more directors to be doing that too. Shoot on the cameras properly. Use that aspect ratio, use that format in the correct way, know what those cameras can do. It's not just about having a big screen or better sound, it is the framing, it's what you can do with characters at the forefront. And there are times people will probably say, well, it looks like a Nolan film, but only because they're so accustomed to how Nolan shoots on IMAX that when someone else does it, it will look similar because it's somebody else shooting on those cameras when very few people do. I cannot recommend the IMAX side of this film alone. And that heads into my final thoughts on this. It's a very positive review from me because it is an outstanding film. I really do think you should all make the effort to go and see this at the cinema. If you haven't, if you're on the fence, go find your IMAX, go and watch it. Trust me, you'll be in for a great time. And do not forget, there is a mid and post-credit scene. It's not criticism, but it is. It's my one criticism. Like Black Panther Wakanda Forever, the middle credit scene feels so important to the film that it should be at the end. However, in the case of this film, choosing to put a sequence in the middle of the credits worked because it does not impact the earlier part of the film, and if you actually put it at the end, it might actually have a negative impact. So the gap of a mid-credit sequence to the end of the film works for the scene they have. I really enjoyed that scene. It was a lovely surprise, a really endearing sequence. If you haven't seen it, that is on you. That's my final thoughts on this. So, yes, that's going to do it for my review of Sinners. Very positive from me. It's a very busy weekend. There's a lot of other new releases. I've had a Warfare thumbnail now for about a month. the intro is already out of date with Minecraft now out, so I need to get to Warcraft. I do want to watch it. I love Alex Garland. He's another great director, so I will be trying to get a review of that in the next week. I really don't want it to go too late, so it's been out 2 weeks in America already, so there will be a Warfare review at some point. As soon as I can get a review out, I will. There are other new releases coming. I want to do something for episode 3 next week, but that's discussions for another time. As always, please do comment your thoughts. Follow us on social medias. A lot more videos to come, and that's going to do it for today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on that next one. Take care.